Shalom is real. All praises, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai being his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And there's no God beside him. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit. Salutations to the elect, whom the Lord have given ears to hear. Now, I was watching this video called "A Central Bank's Secrets Plan to Control You by 2030." So this is actually a really good video, and it gives us an understanding on the details on how this world is being changed financially. Whereas at the end of the day, the scriptures, it is written that this devil is going to cause, which when you go into the word cause, it means to make or establish, all to receive an MOTB in their right hand and their foreheads. All right. So as we're getting closer to that day, it's important for us to watch. As it's written, even Yahweh Shai said, if you have watched, you will have not suffered your house to be broken into. So us over here at Great Millstone, that's exactly what we do. We we watch and we warn. Which, as a prophet of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, according to Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, that's something that you should be doing. Okay? So on the left you have a former I guess you would say I forgot what is. I know this guy Tucker Carlson. He was on who was it, CNBC or some one of those mainstream platforms, but then he went private. And then you have on the right Catherine Austin Fitts, which when you look her up, actually have something on her. It says Catherine Austin Fitts is an American investment banker, former public official, and advocate for economic and financial transparency. She is best known for her work as a former Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President George H.W. Bush in the early 90s. Okay? So, she, along with others, is a part of these devils' tongue falling on themselves. As she has seen the inner workings, having being in that world and having friends who are currently still in that world, the political and monetary world. Right? She sees and hears the corruption that goes on daily. It says Fitz has been a vocal critic of the financial systems and corporate structures that she believes contribute to inequality, corruption, and the erosion of sovereignty. She is a founder of the Solari Report, a platform dedicated to providing independent financial news and analysts. Okay, so yeah, she pretty much spills the beans on what she believes, as we read on, is what these devils, these international bankers, are doing in regards to pulling the world to a new digital system, which again brings us back to prophecy of Revelation 13 and 16. So with that being said, we're going to play this video with fair use. Okay, let me put that disclaimer first, and then we're going to play the video.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Got a pile of clothes you never wear anymore? Turn them into cash with Vinted. Snap a photo.
Large
Yeah.
So what we've been watching literally since World War II is the federal government and a very, largesse, both monetary and fiscal policy, buying people out of the Constitution and buying the whole the federal government is right now so operating so far outside the law. It's, how unbelievable law makes sense.
Yeah.
So what we've been watching literally since World War II is the federal government and a very, largesse, both monetary and fiscal policy, buying people out of the Constitution and buying the whole the federal government is right now so operating so far outside the law. It's, how unbelievable it is. So that's the challenge before us.
Now I want you to keep that part in mind. As she mentioned, ever since World War II, pretty much this world has been inching closer to a new monetary system. Keep that part in mind.
We want to be free. We're going to have to decide we're not going to let ourselves be, it's like being sort of walked into the slaughterhouse. We're not going to walk into the slaughterhouse.
But you don't even, I guess what bothers me about it, there's something wonderfully straightforward, horrifying, but wonderfully straightforward about just a conventional invasion where people show up with guns and tell you what to do, because at least you know who the enemy is. But there's something very scary in an insidious way about being lulled into slavery.
Right. And the thing to understand about the lulling is the marketing plan works one person at a time. In other words, I buy with money. Your friend I buy by knocking them off. Or the other, your other friend I get a control file on. So there are thousands of different ways of nudging, buying carrots and sticks to get everybody into the control, into the trap. And what is so insidious about this is much of the marketing plan is invisible, and it really is crafted one by one.
The odds.
Right, and this is an indicator on who rules the world. Right, because what we're seeing is a very well, let's look into that word lulling, right? Because they use the word lulling. Now when you go into this word lulling, it says calm, right, or send to sleep, typically with soothing sounds or movements. And then it says what? Cause someone to feel deceptively secure or confident. Okay? Hey, dealing with this devil, all right, and going towards the implementation of the CBDC and then on to the MOTB, it's like a car salesman. You ever go, buy a car or have to lease or finance a car. The car salesman, they look you in your eye, they shake your hand. But essentially, they don't give a fuck about you. They tell you sweet words. Hell, that's kind of expensive, but I could do this for you. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, you paying out the wazoo. You paying for a car, you paying 2-3 times over if you gotta finance it. First off, that's pretty much the first thing they ask you is how much can you afford? How much can you put down? Which helps them if, you need a finance, because pretty much then now they got you by the balls. Like the scriptures say, this borrower is servant to the lender. But in order for you to enter into this deal, you have to feel secure. You have to feel like he's doing you a favor. And that's pretty much how That's pretty much the mindset of a business owner in this society. All right. And more importantly, that's the mindset of the rulers thereof. All right, remember, this man is a cunning hunter. So it would never be to where, he comes in front of you and holds a gun in your face. No, I can't say never, because it will come a time when he does that. But as we're inching closer to his vision on his society, he's going to pretty much hide up in the trees, so to speak, for the long run. Okay? Hey, the scriptures say, let's grab it. Genesis 25 and 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. Okay? So Esau Edom, today's a so-called white man, otherwise known as the wicked. A characteristics of him is that he is a cunning, which the word cunning meaning yadai. All right? And then that word goes into a wise. All right, to be made known, become known. Let's see. And that's decent, but let's do something real quick. So I'm going to that word cunning. So it says the word cunning is having or showing skill in achieving one's ends by deceit or evasion. Now the word evasion is the action of evading something. And this is why when you look into the works of like Catherine Austin Fitz, and you try to do your own research, a lot of times it be casted off as conspiracy theory. Okay? Because and being a cunning hunter, again, he has to lure you in his traps to where you feel safe in his traps. And the scriptures say, never trust thy enemy. For though he go crouching he will go crouching. Just lock it. Let me just grab it. I know I'm butchering it, but this describes the ways of this cunning hunter. It says, though he humble himself. Okay, he make himself like you. I don't hunt, but there's a brother in the camp that does go hunting. And he was telling me how, these devils get down. As far as, they'll have the, when they go duck hunting, they'll have certain whistles, or, they'll have certain things that they do, certain calls that they put out to where they can lure their prey. And the prey being a duck, thinking, he's being called by one of his, essentially is called to the slaughter. So it says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. It says, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee. So it doesn't say if, it says when. All right, so again, he starts off by humbling himself, and it ends off by you being overthrown. He stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Okay? And we're coming into the times where that's a physical thing. Okay? Hey, we're going to grab it a little later. But at the end of the day, being in league with this devil always ends up with you being hurt, you being pricked. All right? In the aspect of a hunter, you being shot. Okay? Shot and killed, that is. So let's continue on.
The odds seem overwhelming against the average person in a system that you just described. So how far are we from not being able to exercise constitutional freedoms?
So I don't know how many years. They're clearly pushing to have this done by 2030. And, you know, what I do have to say is if you look at what it takes to stop it, I believe they're going to fail. Now, what I don't underestimate is how much damage they could do. And
well, they definitely going to fail. Hey, the scriptures even tell us that when he is about to fill his belly, right? Job the 20th chapter. When his devil's about to fill his belly, right? So they're gonna get like the saying goes, close but no cigar. Right? So this is Job 20. And let's start at 19. It says, because he have oppressed and have forsaken the poor. Okay. Hey, when you look at the earth right now, people are mourning. You know, they have no jobs. Their homes are being taken away from them. They're mourning. Okay. Or at the same time, the rich are getting richer. Because he hath violently taken away an house which he builded not. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked, meaning the laborers, shall come upon him. Okay? Because people, a lot of these people, they're going to riot, you know, and essentially what's going to happen is this place is going to get melted with nuclear missiles. Okay? When he's about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him. Which again, the fury of the Lord's wrath is those missiles, those nuclear missiles, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. And to prove that this is the missiles, when you read down, it says he shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. Right? But the point being, in verse 23, says when he is about to fill his belly, so this denotes that he won't receive, or he won't be able to finish all of that which he had prepared. Right? So let's play it again.
And to say is, if you look at what it takes to stop it, I believe they're going to fail. Now, what I don't underestimate is how much damage they could do, and the failure may not come in time to save America.
Not all sleep aids.
Oh, well, there's going to be a lot of damage. As it is written, 2 parts therein shall be destroyed. Meaning two-thirds of the Lord's people shall be destroyed. You know? It's also written that in comparison to those that be saved, all right, those that the Lord is going to keep from being pricked are is as a drop to a wave. You know, so it's going to be a lot of destruction. The scriptures speak on how the blood in these last days shall enter into the horse's bridle. Which again, you know, there will be a time where this devil will essentially stop hiding behind, you know, his camouflage and, you know, his den, so to speak. Like they say in Call of Duty, camping out. He's gonna come up close and personal and put the gun in your face. You know, telling you to get down or lay down. Yeah, so it's gonna be a lot of blood. Nevertheless, as even Yahushua said, he will shorten the days for the elect's sake. Right? The Lord has it to where he cannot spill the blood of the elect. And quick point, you know, I mentioned how, well, I highlighted the point of Catherine Austin Fitz was saying, you know, ever since World War II, there was a concerted effort to pretty much monopolize the Fed and the policies in which they have to push forth as far as monetary and fiscal policies. You know, it reminds me of the scripture in Revelation 11 and 14 where it says, the second woe is past and the third woe cometh quickly. Okay? And again, you know, the third woe is going to be finished off with those nuclear missiles. Okay? So this devil, he has to get close. You know, he has to push this digital society. He has to push his image. All right? He has to push his mark so the Lord can destroy him. You know? And hey, this is why it's important for the prophets to be out there. This is why it's important for us to watch. All right? To warn you of the traps. So this is 1 Timothy 6 and 8. And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare. Okay? And essentially it's those that desire to sit with these devils, so to speak. Those that desire to continue in this society, rather. All right? Because as Catherine Austin Fitz pretty much always goes into is you know, the constant effort to essentially take your lifeline, your resources. Okay? And for you to continue to keep those resources, guess what? You're going to have to apply and sign up for whatever this devil has for you. You know? But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare. All right? And again, as we read in Sirach 12, you know, it's basic precepts, but it always ends with pain and a puncture. It always ends with pain to those who fall into it. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in perdition and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. But thou, O man of God, flee these things, and follow after righteousness, godliness, and faith. It says, yeah, that was pretty much the point. And follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, and meekness. Okay? Hey, the scriptures say, and your patience possess your souls. All right? And see, the elect won't get caught up because the Lord is going to give them food and raiment. He's going to provide for them. Lucky. You know, he's going to show up. You know, he's going to make a way for them to escape, as the scriptures say. And these are things we have to keep in mind. These are things we have to remember. Right? Because again, we must always remember that it never works out well. Never ever works out well for those who side and trust in this devil. So let me finish it off over here. I believe it's Isaiah 35, where it says, I can't remember exactly where it's at. I know it's in Isaiah where it speaks on see, yeah, Isaiah 36:6. Lo, thou trustest in the staff, all right, staff meaning power, of this broken reed on Egypt. Okay, Egypt is synonymous with America, and it's in the grand term, the ways of slavery, and it's a broken reed. All right, so this goes to show you this is especially at the downfall of this place. Whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So when you lean on something, you look to it for support. But at the end of the day, you're going to be pierced, which again goes into essentially taking that MOTB. So it's Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. So with that, shalom to the elect.